Okay. So hi, we are here. We come from Barcelona. Thank you for having us at the Making World bookstore. Uh, my name is Joao. I'm a journalist, and we're here to present this book I wrote called LAPA, a handbook, and it's about the platform of people affected by mortgages. And here we are, three people from the PA from Barcelona: Santi, Delia, and Maka.
Hello, everyone.
So I think we can talk a little bit more about the movement with itself with them. But first of all, I wanted to introduce a little bit about the book we are presenting here. So I work as a journalist in Barcelona, and I have been following PAH since 2011. And well, I wrote a previous book called Habitar la Trinchera. It's not translated to English yet, but it's on the history of the housing movement in Barcelona since the 1990s. And I wanted this book to explain how the platform came to be because it's a really important and innovative. Can you say innovative movement? But it came to be because there were lots of movements before and lots of lessons learned and lots of defeats also from which people learned and passed on what they learned so this movement could come to be. And so this new book, the handbook, wanted to explain how the PA works and why is it so important. So the platform works with people. They started in 2009, working with people who were losing their homes in evictions because they could not afford to pay their mortgages, and it's an interesting movement because it gets people to be the main characters of it, the people who were affected, not as some previous movements where people who were activists were trying to deal with the issues they were worried about, but were not working with the people mainly affected. And so I think that's the spirit and the DNA of the platform. And the book tries to summarize some of its strategies, some of the lessons learned in 13 years of history, um, to make them useful for other movements and organizations or people wanting to start organizing. So we didn't want to write a book on the specific issues around housing in Spain because the context may change everywhere, and it's not the same to stop an eviction here as in Spain because the legal framework is also different, and the problem can be different. So it's a book about organizing, about how to get people to work together, how to help people empower themselves and fight together and solve their problems together. So I can just do a short review of the index if you like it. So we start talking about how to organize supportively because for the movement it's a very important thing to be welcoming, so people feel they are at home and they are safe and they are not alone when they get to the welcome assemblies held every week at every PAP, because I didn't say that, but there are around 2,200 chapters all over Spain. The second chapter is focused on how to resolve problems through collective advice and support, because the people who arrive there with the problem end up helping the other people who arrive after them. There's a third one about how to organize an assembly-based movement, because the movement is a horizontal movement. There's no paid staff. There's no money. It's free of charge. There are no cargos. How do you say?
Response. Paid roles?
Yes, but you don't have a president and a director and nothing like that. There's another chapter about how to build a decentralized movement, because as I said, there are chapters all over Spain and they are all coordinated and working together. We also talk about how to safeguard rights through disobedience, how to shift narratives through other ways of doing politics, because the platform did a very important work changing the narrative around the right to housing in Spain. What else? So we also talk about how to get the powerful to sit and negotiate, because the platform is negotiating with bankers, with vulture funds, also with politicians. We also talk about how to transform policies from the streets, because they are actually proposing and passing laws in Spain and specifically in Catalonia, where we come from. Also, we talk about how to manage conflicts, because everywhere there are conflicts, so it's important to acknowledge them and deal with them. And finally, talk about how and why to network with other collectives, both at the local level and at the international level. And I think that's why we are here. And before the folks from PAH, who are the ones who can best speak about this, start speaking, we wanted to show a short video that goes with this book. The book was made from around 50 interviews with people from the platform all around Spain, and we did this video with the Barcelona chapter, and specifically around this welcome assembly that's like the front door of the platform, and also one of these core elements, let's say. So we can play the video directed by Pau Faust.
Yes. Are you ready?
This can also be found on YouTube if you look for it.
Correct.
It's called The First Day, El Primer Día.
In our website. Yes? Sí.
Al comienzo, pues lo primero que es arreglar el local, poner las sillas en orden, todo para que cuando la gente venga esté todo adecuadamente, ¿no? Para ser una buena recibida. Les pregunto, ¿no? Si es por primera vez que viene, pues se le va a llevar a un buen sitio, con una sonrisa, ya con amabilidad y respeto. Porque estas personas vienen sufriendo, vienen con un grave problema, que van a perder su casa porque se van a quedar en la calle.
Mi primera asamblea, no pude hablar. Me dio mucha vergüenza. Vi tanta gente, había mucha gente, que me intimidó hablar.
Llegué con un sentimiento de culpabilidad, vergüenza y frustración.
Cuando le conté mi caso, pues me puse a llorar porque estaba desesperada y los ánimos que me dieron todos: no te preocupes, no estás sola, vamos a luchar contigo.
Una vez llegas allí, ves que tú estás muy mal, pero es que hay gente que está mucho peor.
Tienes muchísimo miedo a qué es lo que va a pasar contigo si no se soluciona tu caso.
Yo veo que hay mucha gente que no sabe dónde está llegando. Y entonces por eso es muy importante también situar qué es y qué no es la PAH, ¿no? Y dónde están, y qué pueden esperar y qué no pueden esperar.
Es muy importante saber que no somos gestores, no somos abogados, somos un movimiento que entre todos hacemos uno, que no llevamos el caso concreto de nadie en particular, que todo tiene que pasar por la asamblea, que daremos todas las herramientas que tú necesites, todas, absolutamente todas, para eso dentro de la asamblea, y donde no llegues tú, llegaremos nosotros como PAH Barcelona.
Es muy importante que esa asamblea previamente haya sido preparada.
Que haya un grupo de personas que trabajan para que esa bienvenida funcione, para que haya una dinamización, para que haya quién está controlando el silencio, quién pasa los micros.
El que toma turno de palabras, el que lleva el calendario, el que lleva el acta. Y la gente cuando ve algo ordenado también se relaja.
Te organiza la cabeza también, ¿no? Puedes ver un objetivo claro, ¿no? Hacia dónde dirigirte, hacia dónde quieres ir, ¿no? O qué quieres cambiar.
Para mí es súper importante dejarles muy en claro a las personas, más allá de lo que es la PA, en lo que te tienes que convertir tú al estar en la PA, que es empoderarte. Todos los que estamos ahí lo hemos logrado nosotros. Nadie ha ido por mí a hablar con un abogado o con el casero mío. He ido yo a hacer todo eso. Entonces, si yo he podido, todos los demás pueden.
Y esto el primer día o los primeros días no te queda muy claro, porque claro, es que, ostras, tú, si no tengo un abogado, ¿quién me lo va a llevar el caso? No, termina llevándolo tú misma.
Tengo un bebé de 10 meses y bueno, tenía un abogado de oficio que no hace nada, tenía un juicio y el hombre no me llamó.
Cuesta bastante. Las personas sí estamos acostumbradas a ser muy cómodas y a ir a lugares a que nos resuelvan los problemas. La PA no resuelve el problema de nadie. La PA da una información y la persona se empodera y toma su caso y la lucha y acompañamos entre todos esa lucha, ¿no?
Pues cuando recibimos contestación del centro, que es un abogado, y que sigue con el nacimiento, que nos estamos.
Es que la gente que estamos allí somos gente de la calle y hemos ido aprendiendo a base de esos tropezones, de esa gente que anteriormente estuvo antes que tú y se han ido traspasando esta información, este conocimiento, esta lucha.
Tengo el partido de 19, el plato de Obregat, el día del juicio, llevo desde abril moviendo en el centro de social.
Que no es una vergüenza, que le puede pasar a todo el mundo, que hay gente que un día está aquí y otro día está aquí, que no importa, porque en la vida siempre vas a estar bien. La vida da subidas y bajadas. Yo sé por lo que está pasando, el terror que está viviendo la persona que está siendo afectada. Yo lo viví, yo viví con miedo, yo tenía pesadillas. Y de pronto te encuentras con una persona que está en el mismo lugar y es que la sabes acoger, la sabes impulsar y decirle, oye, mira, yo pasé por lo mismo que tú y vamos a sobrevivir y vas a salir adelante, ¿no? O sea, sí se puede.
¿Alguien de aquí que ya lleva tiempo sabría cómo contestarle y qué vamos a hacer?
Yo creo que puedes hacer dos cosas, ir tú al juzgado y presentarte como que tú estás saliendo de vivienda. Yo hablaría con el CIS y diría, cierran el caso.
La obligación que tenemos que eso
El caso se tiene que dar para poder tramitarlo de la colaboración de ellos.
Sin ese asesoramiento colectivo, sin ese todo el mundo puede aportar algo, sin ese yo también sé la respuesta que le van a dar, porque es la pregunta que yo hice también cuando yo llegué y ahora ya la sé, sin nada de todo esto, entonces pues seríamos servicios sociales o seríamos un servicio que es lo más habitual en otros colectivos, ¿no? Ven aquí, yo te cojo tu caso, yo te lo soluciono y ya está.
Y eso también forma parte del aprendizaje, porque empiezas a dar paso al yoísmo, por la solidaridad, el apoyo mutuo.
Bueno, buenas tardes, yo soy Yolanda, soy ex afectada, pero bueno, voy a seguir aquí con la fama de Barcelona que me ha devuelto la vida, me ha devuelto las ganas de luchar, me ha devuelto todo.
Cuando lo logra, cuando cada uno de los logros de cada una de las personas es empoderamiento para la persona, ¿no?
Es que la gente florece, le cambia la cara, le cambia la actitud, le cambia, vuelven a nacer.
Un año después de empezar mi camino, yo ya he resuelto mi caso, tengo un alquiler social por 7 años y sigo estando en la PA por las ganas que tengo de ayudar a otras personas a que no pasen el miedo, la vergüenza y la desesperación de estar sola.
Yo que llevo bastante tiempo en la PA siempre nos hemos ido reinventando, ¿no? O sea, han salido cosas y nosotros les hemos dado la vuelta, ¿no? Pero ¿qué ha pasado? Que la contra, los contrarios, los bancos, los políticos también han aprendido y también nos van dando la vuelta.
Nuestro objetivo es cambiar las leyes, donde todos nos beneficiemos, actuar siempre como herramienta, resolver el caso concreto, pero como herramienta de denuncia, de forma que se reconozca el derecho a una vivienda digna.
So now after this video that we thought was a good introduction for what we're going to talk about, I wanted to talk a little bit and ask some questions to these folks that come from Barcelona as I do, but they are part of the platform, so they can explain a little bit better why is it so relevant and what can we learn or what can the platform help us think about our ways of doing politics and our ways of organizing. So first of all, I wanted to ask Delia, and Delia will be translated by Maca, so she will be speaking Spanish. We've seen this video on the welcome assembly and of the importance of being welcoming and to have someone at the door that bring people in and make them feel comfortable. But what happens after? So how do you advise the people who get there, and how do you pass the knowledge on so the movement can keep working and growing?
Vale. Pues sí, como hemos visto en este vídeo, ¿no? Tenemos que decir que es el ADN principal de la PA, es cuidar los espacios de bienvenida, porque tenemos que entender que las familias, ¿no? Vienen pues en un estado de vulnerabilidad, de desesperación, ¿no? Del hecho de querer solucionar su problema, su situación, ¿no? Porque seguramente pues no han sido oídas en su momento cuando primeramente han querido negociar con algún banquero, con el propietario de su vivienda o cosas como esta, pues llegan a nuestros espacios y entonces pues se les tiene que dar el cuidado, ¿no? Porque es un espacio de confianza, de apoyo mutuo, y es lo que intentamos pues hacer con las familias. Ay, perdón, Marta.
No, So Delia was saying that as we saw in the video, this space, the welcoming assembly space, it's the DNA of the PA, and it's one of the most important spaces where we work because it's a place for caring and welcoming people. It's the first moment of encounter with the PA. Usually families, when they arrive to the welcoming assembly, are quite desperate to solve their housing problem, and they've usually been told multiple times already that it's not possible to solve their problems, so that this can't be done either by bankers, by their landlords, by public services. So they're quite frustrated, and it's important that they find a place where they feel welcome and where they are safe.
Sí, porque tenemos que entender que son familias que vienen con ese sentimiento de culpabilidad, como si la culpa la tuvieran ellos, ¿no? Por no poder pagar el alquiler, por no pagar una hipoteca o por recuperar una vivienda por necesidad, ¿no? Entonces, esto es importante, estos espacios de cuidado y ¿no? de cuidado máximo, y darle sobre todo pues eso, el cariño y la confianza que ellos necesitan, y ¿no? Y ver esa luz de esperanza para poder salir pues de ese agujero negro, ¿no? En el que se encuentran sumidos cuando llegan a nuestros espacios.
It's important to understand that families, when they first arrive, are full of guilt, and they understand this as an individual problem, that is something they've done wrong, and it's important to change that understanding. So the PAH and the assembly becomes a first space or a light of hope.
Sí. También, pues, ¿no? Lo que hacemos justamente en estos espacios es dotarles de todo, ¿no? De todos los conocimientos que también nosotros hemos ido adquiriendo, ¿no? Con el tiempo y con el hecho de estar participando en este movimiento, ¿no? Y darle las herramientas necesarias para que ellos puedan solucionar su problema. Y es verdad lo que se decía, ¿no? Aquí es lo que se recogía en el vídeo, de que no somos una gestoría, ¿no? No es aquella familia que llega y te entrega los documentos y desaparece. No. La familia necesita implicarse, ¿no? Necesita conocer cuál es su situación y creerse que puede salir de esto. Entonces, evidentemente, no es cuestión de 2 asambleas ni de 3. Se tomará su tiempo cada uno el que necesite, pero al final lo entenderá y verá que sí se puede, que sí que se puede salir de esto, ¿no?
So what we do is we give them resources to battle their own housing problem, and so these may vary from one family to another, but it's important that what the pod does is to give tools, different kinds of tools, so that they can do it themselves. So families will take on the work of resolving their own problem with the tools that PA is going to share with them. So the knowledge that will be passed on to them as it has been passed on us. Families must get involved to believe that they can do this. So it's their involvement in the movement, which will take time. It's not from one day to the next, but what happens is people learn that, yes, they can do it. They can change their own situation.
Sí. Hacemos el acompañamiento, ¿no? El acompañamiento necesario, porque como bien se recogía, ¿no? De que las familias, hasta que no pierdan el miedo, pues es ese acompañamiento, pero luego, si por A o B el banquero o el propietario no les hace caso, pues, ¿no? Donde no llegan ellas, pues llega, ¿no? Conjuntamente con el movimiento, con la PA, ¿no?
So we accompany families until they lose their fear, so they're never alone. But while they're doing this different process of working with their own bankers or landlords to resolve their problems, they are having an accompaniment from people at PA. And wherever they can't reach or wherever they find a closed door, PA will help them open that door.
Sí. Lo que está claro es que no estarán solas, nunca más estarán solas, y que por supuesto no vamos a permitir que se queden en la calle, que es lo más importante, ¿no? Que tienen que tener.
It's important to know for families who come to the PA that they are not alone, that they will never be alone again, and that they will not be left on the street.
Sí. También es importante, ¿no? Yo señalar de que la PA es feminista, ¿no? Como hemos visto ahora en el vídeo, y la mayoría de veces en nuestras asambleas, pues el 80-90% somos mujeres, ¿no? Y esto pues hace que la PA sea, ¿no? Decimos siempre que la PA es feminista. Evidentemente, pues las mujeres estamos, creamos, ¿no? Ese vínculo de cercanía, esa empatía, ¿no? Y por tanto, pues hay más trabajo en equipo, en grupo, y quizás pues no intentamos no resaltar uno encima del otro, ni crear ese liderazgo ni nada, simplemente pues el hecho de querer, ¿no? Solventar y solucionar nuestro problema de vivienda.
It's important to highlight that the PA is a feminist movement where the majority of people involved are women, and this creates a different space within PA, which is it highlights or empowers a link of empathy between all of us to know that we depend on each other and that we can rely on each other. And it's not a place where people are trying to create leadership or divide among leaders, but rather of collaboration and collectivity.
Sí, evidentemente todo esto pues suena como muy triste, ¿no? Que wow, qué problema y eso, pero que también es importante, ¿no? Señalar y crear esos vínculos de afinidad a través de las celebraciones, ¿no? Que aquello que nosotros llamamos las pequeñas grandes victorias, porque para nosotros una victoria es parar un desahucio, para nosotros es una victoria y lo celebramos como el que más, ¿no? Que una familia no pierda su vivienda o ocupar un banco también es una acción y para nosotros también es festivalera, ¿no? Es como un triunfo el hecho de hacer que ese banco pues ese día no trabaje y nosotros lo celebramos, ¿no? Y como esto también celebramos pues aniversarios, cumpleaños de las compañeras, es que si por celebrar también esto hace ¿no? que haya esa fraternidad, ¿no? Nos confraternicemos entre todos y nos conozcamos, ¿no? Y creo que esto crea mucha cercanía y ¿no? mucha empatía entre todos.
A lot of what comes to PAH is sad and it's harsh. So a lot of the news and the problems that people come to PAH with are mostly sad and difficult situations. But it's also important to highlight the work that PAH does in building our network of care and support through celebration, through what we call small big victories. And this might be something like closing down for business a bank on a given day, or also celebrating our own compañeras' birthdays or a Christmas party. And all of this moments of celebration builds sorority among the people who participate.
Okay, thank you. And I think all that Delia was explaining builds the power of this movement, builds the capacity to do other things. And disobedience is very present on the movement, and what you are most known for is for stopping evictions, but there are very different layers of disobedience within the movement, right? So can you explain us a little bit about those layers of disobedience and how they work, Martha?
Yes, so I think it's a really good question because the movement, the way that it's explained in the book is it's called Be a Nuisance. And this is really important. We really are a movement that can create a lot of nuisance for people who have power, and they're not used to people being in their face like we usually are because of the power of the collective. So it's important to negotiate with everyone. We don't close doors to negotiations with anyone that we encounter. So we know that we must pressure banks at all levels. We'll start with, the person at the reception of the bank, but we might go all the way up to the president. We work with the administration, regardless of what political party is in power. We work with public services. In fact, many of the public services that have been developed later on within the city were demands that PAH put on the table and that demanded that the city provided for its citizens. So some of these have also had already broader effects than to the people who come to our assemblies. And we also work with direct action. As Delia was mentioning, we occupy banks as a way of pressuring a bank who does not want to provide a solution for a family. And we'll start small. We'll start with a visit that includes a few more people than the person that is directly affected by the problem. We'll increase that group to a larger group, and eventually we'll just occupy and take over, and the bank will have to close down for business, which is a great moment of celebration. It really is a carnival inside. Of course, we stop evictions. This has been some of the best known strategies of PAH, which have been also internationalized and used elsewhere outside of Spain. And in stopping evictions, we use our bodies. And that's one of the very important things that sort of brings this material element to the street. We occupy and take over the street where the eviction will take place. We put our bodies together. We chain ourselves one to the other in a way of protecting the person that's inside and in a way of showing how this movement is built through that collectivity. So the use of bodies is actually something very important. If we cannot stop the eviction, which sometimes we can't, but we do have a very good track record, we pressure social services to do what they should be doing, which is providing housing services to the population. And in case there is no solution from social services, we have another campaign of direct action called Obra Social, which is a play on words with corporate social responsibility, which banks also say they do, but they don't actually provide services that help people in the same ways. or at least to the most vulnerable populations within our city. And so the obra social is a takeover of buildings that belong to banks that have been rescued by the state. So we think it's a legitimate use of the space because those banks have actually, those buildings have actually received taxpayers' money in order to be liberated from the debts. So those banks have received large millions and millions of euros in taxpayers' money in order to clean up their accounts. If they didn't provide anything as a counteraction or a solution that they were providing to society for this benefit, which it's good to say, general population never received this. So no one at the PA received a bailout from the government. Banks did. So what we do is we assume that these are legitimate spaces that we can occupy and use for what they were originally built for, which is housing people. So that's another one of our campaigns. And we've also used another strategy called Escraches, which has also been somewhat known outside of PA, and it was actually taken from Argentina, which was used after the dictatorship to shame politicians. And we think this is very important because they're supposed to be our representatives, and they're not acting as our representatives. They are not representing our actual desires. And so we remind them what those policies that we, the people, the general people, especially families who are in a vulnerable situation, need in terms of housing. And so these Escrache campaigns serve to reduce what politicians use in their favor, which is their sort of presence and their fame. We shame them in public so that they know they're not doing what they should be doing. I think those are some of the campaigns, but maybe a good summary.
Yes, I think it is a good summary. Okay. And you ended at a good place because I wanted to ask Santi about another branch of the platform, and it's pushing to change the laws, right? And those scratches Maka was telling about were meant to change a law, but you have been working on it for a long time and at different levels. So can you explain a little bit what are you doing? What have you done and what are you doing now to change laws in Spain?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think since the beginning when we started, we knew we had to change the law. We also knew we had to do civil disobedience, but at the end, the objective, final objective that we have is to change the structure and to really guarantee the right to housing for all in Spain. And for that, you need to not only change the law, but something that we have learned after, make sure the law is implemented, and make sure also that even if the judiciary system tries not to comply with the law, but then there are forced. So it's not only passing favorable laws, but also to make sure that they are implemented. So what we do at PA is in 2013, we collect signatures and we did a popular initiative legislation, and we collect 1.5 million, 1.4 million signatures in a country of 43, which is a lot. And in fact, we had more signatures than those, but those were from immigrants or people that could not vote, so they were not counted. But we did collect even more than those. And that procedure helped us also to build the movement and to structure and to coordinate at a national level, because as I think Maca or Joar has said, we have 200 chapters around Spain, and we are coordinated at a national level, at a regional level, and also at a local level. So at that point, there was a right-wing party which had the majority at the parliament, and the crazy Spanish law is that no matter how successful is your initiative, the parliament is not even forced to debate it, or if they debate it, they can turn it in something completely different. So that strategy at that point didn't work. So at the national level, so what we decided is to do something that we called breaking from law, which means that going to all the regional levels, at the local levels, and try to pass laws that were favorable to our objectives. And in this sense, in Catalonia, we have been able to pass a very progressive law, which forces all big tenants, and we consider big tenants any juridic or private person that owns more than 10 apartments. And if you own more than 10 apartments and you're a company and you want to evict a family that because they cannot pay their rent or they cannot pay their mortgage or they cannot, you don't want to renew the lease to them, then you are forced to provide an affordable rent. And this social rent, not affordable, this social rent is between 10 and 18% of the income. So it's a really progressive law that has changed the paradigm, because we, for the first time, also make responsible the private system and the banks and the landlords, the big landlords, to create this public market housing in Spain, because we only have a 2% public housing in Spain, which is one of the main problems. So this strategy, I think we also, how are we capable of sitting with politicians to discuss? And I think also Delia also mentioned before, how do we get the banks to sit with us and negotiate? And all that has been done because of the mobilization and because of the capacity that the movement has to be very active on the streets, and the legitimacy that we have gained through all these years when we have so much public support of our demands. Everybody knows that if there is a green T-shirt stopping an eviction, means that there is a vulnerable family that really needs just a place to live. So this has given us a lot of credibility in front of the society and also in front of the political parties. But I want to mention also, I don't know if we're going to talk about the red lines of PAH at one point.
Yes, we can talk about how you need to structure this movement
Correct.
all around the country so you can push for these laws. So it's
Okay.
interesting to talk about it now.
Yeah, because I think maybe one of the different things that it is from other movements, or especially here in the States, is that we are an horizontal organization. We are assembliary, as Maca or Joseph don't come asking for the president or for the responsible or for the professional activist which is organized in the group. There is no professional activist of any kind at PAH. We are free of charge. We don't charge anything to anyone. As just Delia explained, that we do the collective advice, so there is not a lawyer who is going to take your papers and is going to do the work for you. We do civil disobedience, as Maca mentioned, and we are completely transversal in terms of that. Obviously, there is no kind of discrimination because of race, age, or sex. But I think that's another key important aspect, is we do it without money. We don't have any funding from any non-profit, from any foundation, from non-political party. We don't have anyone behind that we have to go ask money for. We don't have to even justify what do we do with the money, because we don't have any, and we don't have nobody has given it to us. We just support each other, the movement, with selling T-shirts, doing some paella parties, individual donations, very small individual donations that someone may be able to do, but that's it. And I think we have proven that a movement of this size, that we are organized at the local, national, and state level, can be done without money. So how do we organize ourselves? We do it through working commissions. So we have a commission that is the one responsible. That was a motorcycle. Nobody gets scared. Okay. So we have working commissions for stopping evictions. We have another that organizes the welcome assembly. We have another which more focus on juridic aspects. We have one that is on communication. So all those commissions we have also at a local level, but we also have them at a state or at a national level. So this is the coordination. And we use something called Mumble, which is like Skype without image. So we get to talk, and every Tuesday we have a meeting where we have people from all over the country just connecting with a very simple application that allows us to take the decisions among all, and it's not just one person that is deciding or a very small group. So if you follow these principles, then you can start your own PAH at any location of Spain, and you will have a PAH that will foster you, and for a few months until you will make sure that you do all those things, and there is non-partisan. I don't know if I mentioned that. Did I? but we don't support any political party, even if we have obviously people that we may consider that they maybe do it better or worse, but we will never support any political party. So with those principles, if you follow them, then you can start your own path wherever you are.
So it's a very interesting thing that you think of yourselves as an open source technology, let's say. And when the first PAH started, they just published all the information on the internet, and then the first PAH started in Barcelona, and then other PAHs started in other places in Spain. So how important is this like open source model for the movement?
No. Okay. No.
You don't have to fight to answer.
No, I can both talk. She or Delia. No, but well, I think it's also behind why we have wanted to do this handbook. No, since the beginning we did not understand. Also, it's obviously like everything with the 15M. So yeah, we knew that this if we wanted to. It is in our DNA to share the knowledge among ourselves. We do it in our assembly. We do it with anyone else that is ready to fight for the right to housing. So we upload all the legal documents. We upload them also on our website. So we know that they're all other collectives and they use them for their organizations. And you can just go there, download it, and take it to the judge or take it to the landlord. And so this has been since the beginning, and also the use of technology, which is very basic technology, like can be a Telegram group or can be our Twitter and YouTube and Facebook channels. But since the beginning, we knew we had to share everything that we were doing, and also especially our knowledge. But I mean, I don't know if Delia or Maka want to add something to that.
I think it's also a political practice of the movement of fighting against a system that tries to make a profit out of everything that is created in society and assumes that the only way of organizing amongst ourselves is by profiting out of something. So the PAH is breaking with that, and it's inspiring hacker movements and other collectives who have also worked on open source ideas in doing that freely, in creating knowledge collectively and putting it for use by everyone, and improving those resources as well with feedback from other people who might just send their comments to us or who participate at different moments. So it's also a continuous process of learning in which you must update your knowledge, and this does not need to be on a profit-based mechanism.
For me, there's something I found very interesting on working on this book, because the platform I mostly know is the Barcelona one, because I live there and I do my work there. But talking with different platforms within the movement, for a thing I found like very interesting and that gave strength to the movement is the autonomy of every platform. So people in every city have different backgrounds when they start a platform, and the political context is also different in every city or in every small town where is a platform. So they can, as long as they follow the red lines you mentioned, they can be a platform in their own way. So they can adapt to their context, they can adapt to the people that are there, but can also be part of a movement. And the movement is not imposing nothing on the specific platforms. And I think this enriches the movement, right?
Yeah, totally. And I think also our name, we are called Plataforma de Afectadas por la Hipoteca, which means people affected by mortgages. No, at the beginning we were only doing foreclosure process, because that's where individuals and families were bringing to our assembly. Something that the PAH has been able to do is to adapt to the reality of our assembly. That's why we say that it's a very lively movement, because we are in constant change, because the reality is coming to our assembly. So there's assemblies, so there are towns that are, for example, that are smaller, so they cannot meet every week, so they meet every 2 weeks, or they instead in Barcelona we do the welcome assembly and the coordination assembly in 2 different days, and once they do it different, but some others they just have like more people that are squatting coming to their assembly, so they are more specialized on this, so they know that these people they may need also other services or other to build the community. Some are starting a school, or they're doing other activities also that are built around the housing. So each chapter there has obviously the autonomy to do whatever they want, as long as they meet with the red lines that we mentioned before.
Yeah. Do you any of you want to add something?
Vale. Sí, lo que pasa es que también yo creo que los nodos locales y bueno, ¿no? Sobre todo los nodos locales, los más pequeños, pues también se adaptan al acuerdo a la realidad de su lugar, ¿no? Y a lo mejor sí que en gran escala no habrá problemas de hipoteca, pero sí que hay problemas de ocupación o de recuperación, ¿no? Y de repente de alquileres. Entonces yo creo que es importante que cada nodo tenga esa autonomía, ¿no? Y como decía Santi, sin cruzar las líneas rojas que tiene establecida el movimiento. Pero por todo lo demás, yo creo que el objetivo es el mismo, ¿no? Defender el derecho a la vivienda.
I think that local nodes adapt the movement to their own realities, and that this is very important because this means adapting to their own housing problems, which might be different or at like different moments, be this by mortgages or occupation. And what they do is they, as long as they are within the red lines, they are all part of a broader movement, and are also doing the work that PAH is doing.
Do you want to add something like that? Okay. So, so you have been in PAH for quite a long time. I think Dalia may be the one has been here for the most time, for 11 years. La que lleva más tiempo de ustedes. But so, what is that make you? I know you have a lot of work, and it's not always easy to be part of the movement and to be fighting for the right to housing every day and finding solutions for people who are about to lose their homes. So, what keeps you being part of the movement? What's the thing that keeps you fighting there and feeling part of this and wearing this green T-shirt?
Sí, a ver, sí, es verdad, llevo 11 años en el movimiento, parece mentira, son muchos años, ¿no? A veces ni yo misma me lo creo, pero bueno, ahí vamos. Lo que yo creo que es importante el quedarte en un lugar, en un espacio donde se te ha acogido de la misma manera que tú puedes llegar a acoger. Yo creo que es una transmisión de conocimientos, ¿no? Y el hecho de quedarme ahí, seguro que a muchas personas lo que también te hace crecer es ya no solamente como activista, sino también como persona. Creo que es importante el hecho de ayudar y de acompañar, ¿no? O simplemente, pues, uno de los lemas principales de la PAH es, ¿no? Hoy por ti, mañana por mí. Y quizás estas cosas, pues, como que te lo tomas muy a pecho y dices, pues, no, lo que hicieron un día por mí, pues lo voy a seguir haciendo. Bueno, es verdad que también, aparte de que es un lugar donde me siento bien, es un espacio súper acogedor, donde empiezas a hacer ese calibre, formas no sé, es como que lo llamas tu segunda familia, ¿no? Y, no sé, son cosas que te enganchan al movimiento.
Yes, I've been in the movement for 11 years. Sometimes I can't even believe it. It's important to be part of a place that has made you a part of that movement. So to become part of something that has made you also part of it. And I've grown not only as an activist, but also as a person. So one of the mottos of the PAH is today for me, tomorrow for you. And I take this very seriously. To me, the PAH is a place that has been very welcoming, and that you come to see as your second family.
Thank you. And regarding that, I want you both to answer this question too, but in relation to what Delia said, that the movement makes you feel part of it. One thing I find very interesting in PAH is the fact that there is work for everyone to do there. So if you want to do something, whatever are your skills or your knowledge, you can do something there. You can negotiate a law with parties. You can be a spokesperson, but you also can keep the numbers or organize a party, right? So can you tell me a little bit of this being part of the movement thing?
Vale, pues sí, este movimiento es muy amplio. Hay cabida para todos, ¿no? Lo que faltan son manos. O sea, el que quiera participar en este movimiento, siempre habrá un lugar para él en cualquier comisión, porque tenemos comisiones en las que no todos sabemos de todo, ¿no? Evidentemente yo estoy en algunas comisiones, no estoy en todas, porque seguro que en las otras, pues como que voy un paso atrás. Yo creo que es importante la participación de las familias, ¿no? Que vienen al movimiento, porque también es parte del empoderamiento. Y luego, pues, el hecho de ir aprendiendo y ir transmitiendo. Lo que decía Santi, no hay ningún liderazgo, no, todo es horizontal, todos aprendemos a través por eso lo llamamos, ¿no? Como que en nuestros espacios existe, pues, la inteligencia colectiva, y aparte que la participación es súper importante, y en cada comisión, pues, el que se quiera sumar, bienvenido es siempre.
I think that the PAH is a very diverse movement and that there is room for everyone within it. We actually lack hands, so we are always looking for people to come and do work with us. There's always a commission that you can be a part of, regardless of the different knowledge you may have. And I'm actually part of a number of those commissions, but not on all of them, because in some of them I just feel more comfortable or I know more what to do. And it's good for people and families who come to know that they can also join any commission that they want. And this is the way of getting involved, of knowing and learning from each other, of creating what we call our collective intelligence.
Great. So what about you both? What keeps you tied to this movement?
Myself keeps me tied to the movement. No, the fact, well, many things, to be honest. The fact that you are part of, I always say that you only need one interaction with PAH, one interaction with its welcome assembly, especially, to see that you are in a very special place where with a very specific energy, with people that are doing something that is making, or they're trying to change the world to make it a better place. So and that's clearly an energy, and all the victories, as Delia says, and you celebrate every single day, and you know that you see the impact that the helping each other has in everybody's life. So I that gives you a lot of energy, because it's also completely true that is you have too much to do, too many difficulties. You have always to fight the bank, the administration. So there's always like a hustle and a sense of stress. But on the other hand, there's all those celebrations and the feeling that you are part of something bigger than you, way bigger than you. And I always said that PAH has given me 10 times more than what I have given to PAH, because I just give time, and in return I receive things that are way more valuable and important. So for the moment, that keep me going.
Well, thank you for the question. I wear many hats. So I'm an activist at PAH, but I'm also an academic, and it keeps me going because those two worlds have sort of collided into each other. And as both Delia and Santi mentioned, I think that you find at PAH a place that's special, that's doing something different, that we also saw in the video when people were saying, you come almost broken, but you leave empowered, and sometimes you don't leave. So I think that all of us have found that in this space we're building something collectively that can't be done on your own, that defies the models of politics and economics in which we live, and that can give hope to not only the people who are at PA, but I think it has inspired people elsewhere in the world, and it has inspired change in the world. So I feel that it is also a second family of sorts, one that you choose to be a part of.
And I would add that now that Maka mentions that something that really keeps you going, or there's a huge adrenaline there, is the fact that you see the power that you have when we are together, you know, and sometimes with Delia, we talk about we occupy banks, and when we are wearing the shirt and you go near a bank, they will just close the bank. You know, they say, oh, these crazy people are coming, let's close the bank. And we didn't even have to do the action. They were closing the bank on itself, you know, before we just even arrived there. And the same when you see the politicians, you know, they treat you like, well, you know, you have the power of mobilizing a lot of people, and the same the banks, when they give you agreements that the law doesn't oblige them to do. So you really feel that power, and because we are together, and then you see the power from the street. And we always say that we do politics because we are a very extremely political movement. Every time we are stopping eviction, we are doing politics. Every time that we retake an empty house from a bank, we are doing politics. But we do politics from the street. We do not do it from the institutions. And you realize at PA that if we are organized and we work together, you have a lot of power from the streets to change also the institutional politics and the policies. So I could not think about a better place to be than PA, to fight against the powerful and to try to change the law. So yeah, we are in the right place.
It's a good way to put it. PA is spelled P-A-H, and it's pronounced PA. And now we have power.
There you go.
No solamente eso, ¿no? Sino que como que el miedo cambia de lado, ¿no?
Fear changes sides.
Yes.
And there's lots of people in the book who talk about the power of this green T-shirt. Yes, yeah. So they wear it and things happen. No? So I don't know if you have many time left. Or... Okay, so just to start finishing. We've been in New York this week. We've been meeting with several organizations around that work on housing here in the United States. So, what message would you share with them after your experience here and your years of experience there in Barcelona and all the ideas we try to put up together on this book?
Well, I think that the message, or at least message of what we have learned, first, that there's things to learn everywhere. So even if you think you are a movement that has done great things, you can always learn things from anyone. So that's and this industry we have learned about practices, or we have been remembered of how we used to do certain things that we don't do any longer, that maybe it will be worth it to do it again. And we have seen other models of organizing that we can learn some specific things. But at the end of the day, I think what we came out in all the conversation is that this is an international fight. The capital, which is the one who is rising the prices in all our cities, more or less, but we are all facing a housing problem no matter where we are, and this capital is global, and this capital can be Blackstone, can be Goldman Sachs, can JP Morgan. So all those people are the ones that are making your rent rise. And then we have realized that it is important to fight together. And we do the same call that we did in previous meetings, which is that if you want to organize against, let's say, Blackstone, we will be more than happy to join forces on an international action where we can be protesting in Barcelona, and you can be protesting in Philadelphia or in New York or in Japan. And that way, I think we need to show also the capital that we are ready to coordinate ourselves and to make this fight also at a local, but also an international level.
Yes.
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 There you go.
Sí, pues la verdad que ha sido muy enriquecedor, ¿no? Esta experiencia, porque ha sido el hecho de poder compartir conocimientos, estrategias, y por supuesto que nos vamos habiendo aprendido muchísimo, hemos recogido muchísimas cosas que seguro que las pondremos en práctica, ¿no? Y esperamos también nosotros haber podido incidir en algo en ellos, ¿no? Y creo que el mensaje sería que sigan adelante, porque el problema de la vivienda, por lo visto, es universal, ¿no? Es amplio, y ya no, quizás ya no somos nosotros, serán nuestros hijos, los hijos de nuestros hijos. Yo creo que esto es como un problema, ¿no? Que no va a terminar, ¿no? Y aparte que la vivienda es un problema de todos, ¿no? Hasta el que tiene un piso en propiedad, o sea, el problema es de todos. También yo creo que es importante el ir tejiendo redes, el ir compartiendo experiencias, ¿no? Y nada, que no decaigan en su lucha, que sigan, que estamos muy contentos de saber que existen más movimientos a nivel, ¿no? fuera de nuestro estado, fuera de España, ¿no? En este caso, que su lucha pues es la misma, ¿no? El objetivo es el mismo, ¿no? Ellos defienden pues con sus propias estrategias, ¿no? y conocimientos, un derecho a la vivienda, y lo que también nosotros pues, ¿no? De repente las formas son diferentes, pero el objetivo es el mismo, ¿no? Defender el derecho a una vivienda digna.
So this has been a very enriching experience, and we've been able to share a lot of knowledge and strategies and learn new ways and things that we'll be able to implement back home. My message to all the movements that we've been meeting with is one of courage to all, and not only the movements we've met with, but everyone fighting for the right to housing. We know that it's a collective problem, and we need more than ever networks of support among us in this fight. And it's important to know that there are many more of us fighting for this right around the world. Even if our ways are different, our goals are collective and communal.
Great. And as part of the international committee, what do you think about this? What can PAH share with other movements?
I think that it's a process of both, you know, learning and sharing the knowledge that we have. We've tried to do this already. As you mentioned, there is a commission that is an international commission at PAH that tries to build these networks across the globe, really. It's grown a lot in Europe, but we are also very interested in going well beyond that. We've worked a lot with people in the US, and we see that we are more and more facing a common enemy, but one that changes very quickly as well, and that has a lot of resources and can act very quickly on us. So the more knowledge we share among our movements, and the more we collaborate, we really do what Santi was mentioning before. We realize we actually have a lot of power, and we can do things different. That's a little bit of what we also know. We are doing things one way, but we could just as much be doing them differently. So maybe there's a lot of hope in a time that has been very challenging, I think, for all of us. So to start to see what Delia so nicely put as this light of hope in international collaboration, I think is a nice place to end our conversation.
It is. So I hope you can keep inspiring people and getting inspired by people. And thank you all for watching. You can find this book on the internet, La PAH Handbook. You can search for it. It is on the platform's webpage, on the Rosa Luxemburg Foundation webpage in New York, and also in their European website.
Also in Spanish.
And it's also available in Spanish. So
will be in German soon.
And it will be published in Germany in May. So yes, so thank you for watching, and we hope you find this useful.
Si se puede.
Sí se puede.
Thank you.
Thank you.